What if I told you one of today's deadliest battlefield weapons was designed over a century ago? Meet the M2 Browning .50 caliber machine gun. Ma Deuce, it can tear through vehicles and pin enemies from 2 kilometers away, and despite 100 years of technological progress, nothing has replaced it. How does a century-old design still dominate modern warfare? Today, you're about to find out. Before we start, subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss our deep dives into the world's most legendary military tech. The M2 story starts in the trenches of World War I. Soldiers had already experienced the horrors of the machine gun, rifle caliber guns like the Maxim, the Vickers, and the German MG-08. However, when tanks began lumbering across no man's land and fighter planes took to the skies, those weapons were suddenly underpowered. The U.S. Army needed a machine gun that could defeat armor plating and bring down enemy aircraft. They turned to John Moses Browning, the prolific inventor responsible for designs like the Colt 1911 pistol and the M1917 machine gun. Browning was a genius at making weapons that were rugged and devastatingly effective. By 1918, Browning had developed a prototype scaled up from his M1917 water-cooled machine gun, chambered in a brand new half-inch cartridge. The .50 Browning machine gun round, or .50 BMG, was designed with lessons learned from the German 13.2mm TU-F round, which had been built to counter British tanks. Although World War I ended before the M2 could see action, the idea didn't fade. Through the 1920s and early 1930s, the U.S. Army tested and refined the weapon. It was air-cooled, belt-fed, recoil-operated, and devastatingly powerful. By 1933, it was officially adopted as the M2. When World War II erupted, Browning's creation was ready. It became the standard heavy machine gun for American forces, mounted on everything from jeeps and tanks to bombers and naval vessels. Browning had died in 1926, but his design lived on and went on to shape the 20th century. To see why soldiers still swear by it today, we have to look at what happens when Ma Deuce speaks. The .50 BMG cartridge is the real heart of Ma Deuce. Each round measures 5.45 inches long, with a bullet weighing between 600 and 800 grains. Fired at velocities of up to 2,910 feet per second, it delivers an astonishing amount of kinetic energy, over 13,000 joules per shot. For comparison, a standard 5.56 NATO rifle round delivers about 1,700 joules. That's almost 8 times less powerful. This massive energy makes the .50 BMG capable of things smaller rounds can't touch. It can tear through brick, concrete, and light armor. It can disable vehicles and suppress enemy forces behind cover. The variety of ammunition also multiplies its effectiveness. There are ball rounds for general use, armor-piercing rounds for vehicles, incendiary rounds for fuel and aircraft, tracer rounds for aiming, and armor-piercing incendiary tracers that combine penetration and fire-starting capability. During World War II, bomber gunners often used incendiary rounds that could ignite enemy aircraft fuel tanks, making the M2 one of the most effective anti-aircraft weapons of the era. Its maximum effective range of 1,800 meters, nearly 2 kilometers, means operators can hit enemies long before rifles or light machine guns could engage. The psychological impact of being on the receiving end is impossible to ignore. Veterans have described the sound of Ma Deuce as something you feel in your chest, a thunder that rattles the ground and crushes morale. In short, the .50 BMG gives the M2 its terrifying punch. Without it, the weapon would just be another machine gun. With it, it's a battlefield legend. Now, if the raw firepower makes Ma Deuce terrifying, the design is what makes it timeless. Mechanically, the M2 is brilliant in its simplicity. It is recoil-operated, using the energy of each shot to cycle the action. As the round fires, recoil pushes the bolt backward, ejecting the spent casing and feeding the next round from the belt. A spring then drives the bolt forward, chambering the round and resetting the firing pin. This cycle repeats as long as the trigger is pressed. The gun typically fires between 450 and 600 rounds per minute. That's not blisteringly fast compared to modern light machine guns, but with each round weighing over 100 grams, the destructive output per minute is unmatched. The gun's design is tough and dependable. Fewer moving parts mean fewer things can go wrong. Soldiers from every war since World War II have praised the M2 for its reliability. In places like the Pacific jungles, European snowfields, even Korean mountains and Iraqi deserts, the weapon has performed under conditions that stopped other firearms cold. Maintenance is relatively straightforward, though it requires training. For older models, adjusting the headspace and timing was critical to ensure safe operation. Misadjustment could cause catastrophic failures, but once properly set up, Ma Deuce could fire for hours on end without fail. Adaptability is another reason for its staying power. The M2 can be mounted on tripods for infantry use, on aircraft for defense, and even on naval vessels. Its modularity has allowed it to fill countless roles. This, combined with raw power and durability, explains why so many militaries around the world adopted it. Even today, over 100 countries still use Ma Deuce or local variants. If you're enjoying this breakdown, what's one weapon you think could rival the .50 caliber in sheer battlefield dominance? Drop your pick in the comments. I'd love to see what you say. To truly appreciate its reputation, we need to see how it performs not just on paper, but in the heat of combat. Loading the M2 starts with the iconic belts of ammunition. Each belt can contain dozens of linked .50 BMG rounds, heavy and intimidating in their own right. The belt feeds into the side of the weapon. When the trigger is pulled, the firing pin slams forward, igniting the primer and firing the round. The recoil forces the bolt backward, ejecting the empty casing and pulling the next round into place. The bolt then slams forward again, chambering the new round. This process happens in a fraction of a second, creating the signature pounding rhythm of Ma Deuce. The sound is like nothing else. Lighter weapons crack or chatter. The M2 booms. The noise carries for miles, echoing through valleys and across battlefields. Troops often describe the sound as comforting when it's on their side, and terrifying when it's not. In combat, this reliability and firepower make it invaluable. It can provide suppressive fire, keeping enemy troops pinned behind cover. It can knock out technicals, pickup trucks mounted with weapons that are common in modern conflicts. When mounted on aircraft or helicopters, it becomes a devastating strafing weapon. The rhythm of Ma Deuce in action has become part of the soundscape of modern war. Nonetheless, a fun fact for you: the nickname Ma Deuce grew out of soldiers' familiarity with the weapon. Officially the M2, it became affectionately known as the Deuce, and then Ma Deuce, a nod to its protective, almost motherly presence on the battlefield. In World War II, bomber crews relied on M2s for defense. B-17. Flying fortresses carried 13 of them, covering every approach angle. Countless crews credited the guns with saving their lives as swarms of enemy fighters tried to shoot them down. In Korea, the weapon was used in defensive lines, firing across long valleys and ridges. Veterans recall that even when outnumbered, the range and power of Ma Deuce could hold back enemy waves. Vietnam brought new uses. Mounted on helicopters, it became the backbone of air cavalry tactics. On river patrol boats, it defended against ambushes from the jungle. Ground troops relied on it for base defense and fire support. In Iraq and Afghanistan, the story continued. Mounted on Humvees and MRAPs, the M2 was often the difference between surviving an ambush and being overrun. Its ability to shred cover, vehicles, and enemy positions gave U.S. forces overwhelming firepower. Many insurgents learned quickly. When Ma Deuce opened up, it was time to run. Even legends can improve. In 2010, the U.S. Army began rolling out the M2A1 upgrade. The most important change was a quick change barrel system. Older M2s required careful adjustment of headspace and timing whenever a barrel was replaced, a process that could be dangerous under pressure. The M2A1 solved this, making barrel changes fast, safe, and simple. Other improvements included flash suppressors, better safety features, and small refinements to make the weapon easier to use. But crucially, the heart of the design didn't change. The M2A1 still fires the same .50 BMG round, uses the same recoil operation, and delivers the same battlefield presence. Internationally, many armies use their own variants. NATO allies often mount M2s on armored vehicles and helicopters. Even countries outside NATO continue to produce local versions because the design is so effective and proven. If you're fascinated by the mix of history, engineering, and battlefield stories, share this video with a friend who'd enjoy it too. All of this leads us to one of the most important questions about the M2. Why has no one managed to build a true replacement in 100 years? The answer is balance. Other heavy machine guns exist, like the Soviet DSHK or the Russian Cord. Some are lighter, some have different features. Nonetheless, none match the perfect combination of firepower and versatility. The M2 isn't just a weapon, it's an institution. Armies already have the logistics and infrastructure to support it. Millions of units and billions of rounds have been produced. Replacing it would require enormous expense without delivering clear benefits, and no alternative has yet proven superior in every category that matters on the battlefield. Then there's reputation. Soldiers trust Ma Deuce because it has protected generations of troops. Enemies fear it because they know exactly what it can do. That psychological edge is priceless, creating an almost legendary aura that ensures the M2 isn't just a gun, it's a symbol of dominance. Can Ma Deuce survive another century? Possibly not in its current form. Militaries are experimenting with lighter heavy machine guns, autocannons, and even directed energy weapons like lasers. Drones and precision-guided munitions may reduce the role of heavy machine guns in future wars, shifting firepower to faster and more precise systems. Although it has eventually retired, Ma Deuce's legacy is untouchable. It has outlasted generations of soldiers and entire eras of military doctrine. It has fought in deserts, mountains, and seas. Few weapons in history can claim that level of service, and fewer still can inspire the same level of respect. Alongside the AK-47 and Colt 1911, the M2 belongs to a rare category. Weapons so effective, they reshape warfare itself. It stands not just as a machine of war, but as a testament to design brilliance, human ingenuity, and the idea that some tools are simply built to endure. From the skies of World War II to convoys in Afghanistan, Ma Deuce has been there. It is more than just a machine gun. It is proof of John Browning's genius and a reminder that true engineering mastery can stand the test of time. Do you think Ma Deuce will keep dominating, or is the next century going to belong to a new kind of weapon? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most iconic weapons.